This is my hack for working smart, Monday.com. Let me show you how I use Monday.com to create a tailor-made workflow.
TikTok. Every day, 50 million Americans log onto the video sharing app. scrolling, dancing, streaming, watching.
We've tried other platforms. We've seen success with other platforms, but we've never seen anything like TikTok Shop.
And of course, shopping.
TikTok Shops, that was the real game changer.
Launching in the US in September 2023, TikTok Shop joined a crowded landscape, with social shopping apps fighting for attention, clicks, engagement, and sales.
Before TikTok Shop, that path between discovery and purchase was actually not fully connected.
Social commerce isn't new. TikTok joined the likes of Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and even the ill-fated Amazon Inspire in attempting to create an attractive social media shopping experience. What sets TikTok Shop apart is this. In just 1 year, TikTok is converting more users to shoppers than any of its legacy competitors, a number the app is expected to expand on in the coming years.
We're only scratching the surface here with TikTok.
In 2024 alone, TikTok Shop had 47 million shoppers use its marketplace, with an average of $32 million being spent in the app every day. Money that isn't just going to big brands, but small businesses, entrepreneurs, and creators who depend on TikTok Shop to maintain their business.
I opened, which is now Boss Cosmetics, when I was 14 years old. And I started that in my grandma's kitchen table. And it kind of grew to where it is today.
A revenue stream that is in danger of disappearing just as quickly as it arrived.
The clock is ticking on TikTok.
The president also signed an executive order delaying the enforcement of the app's ban for 75 days.
They think it's just another silly app. And it's really not. It's changed my business. It's changed my life.
So how did ByteDance own TikTok go from a video sharing app to a dominant social shopping marketplace in just over a year? And what does an uncertain future mean for the app, its users, and business owners? In 2024, TikTok Shop added an estimated 11.9 million US buyers, almost double the buyer growth for both Instagram and Facebook combined.
All these companies should be real nervous because TikTok Shop starts from this huge strength of customer attention, very sticky customer attention.
We attribute our rapid growth and our rapid popularity to the way we have transformed discovery e-commerce into an efficient flywheel.
TikTok Shop itself is a marketplace, similar to Temu and Amazon. The marketplace hosts products for sellers. This means you encounter a wide array of product, from vintage clothing resellers and mom-and-pop businesses to drop-shipped Chinese goods, and even major brands. Brands like Elf Beauty, PacSun, Benefit Cosmetics, and Crocs, all looking to leverage TikTok's algorithm to get eyeballs on their product.
Amazon, Temu, and Shein are all great at selling stuff. And they're not necessarily awesome at getting the customer's attention. And so they're commerce players that are trying to learn how to get attention. Whereas ByteDance and TikTok specifically are the world champions at getting customer attention.
When you're a new business in the US today, TikTok Shop is where you start your business and you find your audience. So this is really the core of what we're doing.
What sets TikTok Shop apart from other social commerce apps is how it integrates shopping into the social media experience. Using its existing social algorithm, TikTok creates a closed-loop shopping experience. Experts coin shoppertainment.
It's the ultimate in word of mouth and trusted selling, right? You follow someone, you trust them and the products that they're providing. And especially in live stream, you get to see it in action, so it's not static.
If you've been on TikTok recently, you've probably seen these. These are shoppable links. TikTok affiliates use them to connect products directly to their videos, getting a cut of the sales made through their link, allowing creators to monetize TikTok Shop even if they themselves aren't a seller.
I am currently generating about $500 to $1,000 a day with TikTok Shop as an affiliate, not a seller.
This also keeps potential buyers in the app ecosystem instead of linking out to an external website.
TikTok added more amenities to link out to an e-commerce site and buy those products, or even they created ad formats where you could buy products in TikTok. So the commerce experience evolved on TikTok.
It's this creator-driven marketing that has become the linchpin in TikTok's strategy and spawned entire careers for affiliates like Lexi Rosenstein.
I was the kid that would stay up at night watching beauty YouTube videos, and I feel like because I watched that so much, it kind of conditioned me to be able to make content like this.
It's not brown, it's not red, it's just the perfect statement lip.
I kind of got in early, but you essentially create your content and then you get to scroll through the TikTok Shop marketplace, see if the products that you like are in there, and you can tag them to the video or the live stream. It's not like you have to scroll on TikTok, oh my gosh, someone told me about this product, now I have to go to Google and find it there. It's just, oh, it's right here, I could buy it right here in app.
But the biggest weapon in TikTok's arsenal is its algorithm. E-commerce apps like Amazon use algorithms to make assumptions about purchasing habits. You bought a pair of rock climbing shoes, here's a suggested purchase of more rock climbing gear based on other users' purchases. It works for Amazon's purposes because you're likely already planning to spend money when you open the app.
When you go to an Amazon or in a marketplace, if the algorithms and the data hyper personalizes the experience, as soon as you log on, this is what you bought last time, this is what's on your shopping list, people who bought this, who bought that, that algorithm drives 34% of their sales.
TikTok, on the other hand, treats advertising as content, utilizing its existing social algorithm to make decisions about what you might be interested in, based on your content viewing habits instead of your past buying habits.
Our systems actually suggest content based on preferences from the users and their interactions on our platform.
It's your viewing history, it's your purchase history, and it's the amplification within your network that's driving that personalization.
An estimated 43% of TikTok users made at least one purchase on the platform in 2024, and 71% of those shoppers say they start shopping in-app when they come across a product in their feed.
Every time you look at something, every time you pause on something, every time you click or swipe on something, that's cutting code in the background on this algorithm and making it smarter.
On the other side of the equation are the 7 million US businesses hosted on TikTok. This is Aaliyah Arnold. She's the founder of Boss Up Cosmetics, where she makes and sells her own makeup line.
So I got on TikTok Shop a little less than a year ago, which is so crazy. It kind of just blew up and kind of expanded more. And it allowed me to reach a lot more audiences and just to know my niche and know what the people wanted to see from me. We have seen an increase 500% month over month, and we have done 6 figures consistently every single month.
You are a business in and of yourself, and that's what's so powerful about this channel.
Nearly 40% of small business owners on TikTok say the platform is critical for the success of their small business.
They're growing this seller base by more than 100,000 new sellers per month. Right now, we put it at 2.8 million active sellers.
And those sellers aren't just selling products on TikTok Shop, they're marketing themselves in-app as well.
TikTok is a marketplace for sellers, but it's also a marketplace for creators. So e-commerce creators that actually find product they love on the platform can actually post content about it and earn commissions. It democratizes e-commerce.
This is what marketing is, showing people my process, showing people my behind the scenes. They want to see me make lip gloss. They want to see my mistakes. They want to see my family working.
People don't realize that you can have 5,000 followers and monetize your content on TikTok and TikTok Shop.
And it's in this marketing ecosystem that business owners like Arnold and TikTok affiliates like Rosenstein work in tandem.
I do have direct relationships with the brands that I work with, so I understand when they say, hey, here's our marketing goal and stuff like that, but I also understand as the consumer of this content what people like to see.
Whenever they make a video of my product or any product on TikTok Shop, they can easily just tag it and they can also gain commission from that video. And it got to the point where I paid someone over $70,000 just in affiliate marketing, but like obviously the sales are backing that up. Their video blew up like crazy. I think they got over like 8 million views. So obviously out of that 8 million views, so many people were going to purchase from that video.
This is especially true in the health and beauty space, an area where TikTok Shop has seen the most growth. 80% of products bought on TikTok Shop are health and beauty products, totaling $1.34 billion in sales in 2024, or $63 per buyer. TikTok Shop is already the 8th largest health and beauty e-commerce retailer in the US.
We're definitely seeing a rise on clean beauty, skincare forward beauty. I think that people are a little bit more conscious about what's in their products nowadays.
This one has been sold out. I'm dying to get my hands on it. It just came back in stocks. If you want to get it, girl, run. I linked it below for you.
As money continues to pour in for businesses, there's one huge, massive, federal-sized catch. Another impending deadline for the app to sell or be shut down in the US.
It is a very scary situation because, like I said, my whole family works for me. So this is our livelihood. We depend so much on our brand and on TikTok Shop to bring in orders so we can continue working every single day.
In April 2024, Congress passed a law requiring ByteDance to divest from the app and sell to a US-based company. The concerns and allegations are that TikTok is a national security threat due to its ties to China. Accusations TikTok denies. The app briefly went down for a few hours on the initial deadline, January 19, 2025, but was given a 75-day extension by President Trump, meaning TikTok has until April 5th to find a US buyer. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance did say he expects a deal for TikTok to be done by April 5th, but as of the making of this video, no deal has been announced.
We are focused on developing the business and finding a solution to be compliant with the executive order.
The United States is TikTok's largest user base, with 136 million monthly active users. Americans spent more than 4.8 billion minutes on the app in 2024.
Whatever happens, we're just going to adapt. Just like we have done the past 6 years, we're going to continue doing it for the rest of the business. Just adapt, and just honestly keep our fingers crossed.
I feel like no other platform is as enjoyable for me as a creator because of the vibe that TikTok has. It's so authentic. People love to engage with you. The same exact piece of content that I take from my TikTok and I post on other platforms, I get a completely different reaction and a different audience there.
Another potential speed bump for TikTok Shop long term is one that comes with the bargain marketplace territory: product quality concerns.
I don't think so. And no. I am upset. This looks nothing like the photo. Do not order this. Goodbye.
If you see these crystal cups on TikTok Shop, definitely don't buy them. They're not crystal, and it's really not a cup.
One study found that 35% of consumers said influencers or celebrity endorsements online convinced them to buy a health or wellness product. But that same survey also found that when it comes to buying on social media, 55% of respondents said they didn't think a product or service they bought because of TikTok was worth it. Vetting sellers is an area TikTok says it's working to crack down on.
Ensuring high-quality products and high-quality merchandise on the marketplace is of paramount importance. We're leveraging a combination of policies, technology, as well as human resources to actually vet the products individually.
If you could go to sleep at night telling someone to spend their hard-earned money on something that you can't stand behind, then you should not be in this field.
So in the case that TikTok does stick around and users can keep shopping, dancing, lip-singing, where does TikTok Shop go from here? Well, according to TikTok, it is seeing growth potential in live shopping, an arena that's exploded in Asia with a global valuation of $980 million in 2024 and is expected to surpass $5.4 billion in valuation by 2032.
Definitely live streaming has grown my page significantly. Again, I started TikTok Shop September of 2023. I had about 1,000 followers. Now I'm at almost 70,000, and that's really, I think, because of the lives.
We believe live shopping is going to be very big. We had obviously a very successful Black Friday, Cyber Monday during the last Q4. We had about 700,000 hours of live shopping during this weekend. So it's actually getting a lot of traction.
There are unbelievable amounts of people making over $1 million a month already on TikTok live shopping.
Not only has TikTok and TikTok Shop changed my life, but I would say specifically live streaming.
Sell in all the places with Shopify. Online, in person, and across socials, and track every cha-ching, all in one place. When it's time to sell everywhere,
Facebook's global reach remains massive, but its grip on younger users is slipping. Only 32% of U.S. teens use the platform today, down from 71% in 2014. But one feature is still keeping users engaged: Marketplace.
I only use it for the marketplace.
It is the only reason that I log on to Facebook.
I only use Facebook for Facebook Marketplace, looking for specific large items of furniture or things for my house. And I go in with knowing what I want not just casually browsing.
Since its launch in 2016, Facebook Marketplace, which is owned by Meta, has quietly become one of its biggest success stories. With 1.1 billion users in 70 countries, it's now one of the world's largest platforms for secondhand sales, rivaling eBay and Craigslist.
Marketplace has actually been referred to as the garage sale or the flea market of the internet. And so there's a tremendous amount of consumer-to-consumer business.
What makes Marketplace so sticky is the cost. Unlike eBay and Etsy, Facebook doesn't charge listing fees, and sellers can arrange local pickups, avoiding shipping and transaction costs.
No selling fees is a major selling point for Marketplace, and introducing any kind of fee or having Meta insert itself further into the sales or the transaction process could push Marketplace sellers and buyers to other platforms.
So how important is Facebook Marketplace to Meta? And with Facebook's growth among younger users slowing, how crucial is Marketplace to its future? One study found that only 32% of U.S. teens use Facebook, compared to 63% on TikTok and 61% on Instagram. Yet Marketplace's billion monthly users suggest a different kind of engagement, one driven by necessity rather than social networking.
When I was moving to New York, I was on it every single day browsing Facebook Marketplace, so that was a high usage period.
If I have nothing to buy or sell, I'll probably open the app less than once or twice a month.
I see a lot of Gen X and even baby boomers use Facebook Marketplace, and also millennials. So affordable and budget-friendly second-hand shopping experience can be aligned with the Gen Zers, eco-conscious mindset.
Marketplace, which is primarily a C2C shopping destination where people go to sell or buy secondhand goods, is a big part of that strategy to attract and keep those users on its platform.
For younger consumers, Marketplace aligns with both financial necessity and sustainability. The global resale market is projected to hit $350 billion by 2027, fueled by eco-conscious and budget-savvy buyers.
They can find the really, cheap price, affordable items through Facebook Marketplace, especially with the money constraints for younger generation.
We've compiled a list of things that we bought from Facebook Marketplace when we were moving to New York, and we were able to compare the original price from the price that we bought it at, and we saved around $2,300 from this move, which was really amazing.
The appeal isn't just about saving money, it's also about trust.
Unlike, let's say, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace offers more information regarding sellers. And it's a bit more transparent in terms of who you're buying from and so on and so forth.
This built-in trust factor keeps users engaged, even if they rarely scroll the Facebook feed.
So I do my scroll of it, but not nearly as long as I do on other social media platforms.
Everyone is familiar with Facebook, so there's good familiarity. And I think with familiarity often comes trust.
One of the biggest advantages of Facebook Marketplace is how it is connected to Facebook profiles. This helps build the trust between buyers and sellers because people can see who they are dealing with. So it feels a bit more secure compared to completely anonymous platform.
For many users, local pickups are the real game changer. Instead of waiting for delivery, buyers can inspect items in person and sellers avoid logistics hassles.
There's a lot of C2C, consumer to consumer business, a tremendous amount of consumer to consumer business.
But now Facebook is expanding Marketplace's reach. In January 2025, eBay announced a partnership with Facebook Marketplace, allowing select eBay listings to appear in the US, Germany, and France. Wells Fargo projects an additional $1.6 billion in gross merchandise volume for eBay by the end of 2025. The move not only expands Marketplace's inventory, but also potentially helps address EU regulatory concerns. Users can browse eBay listings on Marketplace, but must complete purchases on eBay's platform.
A partnership between eBay and Facebook Marketplace will make it easier for eBay sellers to sell directly on Marketplace. That will boost the number of sellers and potentially buyers on Facebook Marketplace. It could also help solve some of the trust problems that Marketplace has if eBay is authenticating those items or adding another type of verification or buyer protection, which most purchases on Marketplace do not have.
With this partnership, eBay get access to a much larger audience through Marketplace's huge user base. And also Marketplace can offer a wider selection of product lists. So collaboration highlights a complementary relationship rather than direct competition because each platform caters to different buyers and sellers.
Facebook Marketplace doesn't charge upfront fees, but it does take a cut of sales made through shipping. Sellers pay a 10% selling fee with a minimum charge of 80 cents per transaction. For eBay, the deal expands its reach, helping it compete with resale platforms like Poshmark and Depop. For Facebook, it's about scaling up Marketplace into a resale powerhouse. Marketplace doesn't charge mandatory listing fees, and ads in Marketplace can't be bought separately. They're bundled into Facebook's broader ad network. So why does Meta keep it around?
It is one of the least monetized areas of Facebook, meaning that it isn't making a lot of money there, at least not directly. And the challenge now for Meta is to redirect Marketplace users to more monetizable surfaces on the app, especially the main feed, where Meta generates roughly about 80% of its worldwide ad revenues.
Meta's business model is built on ads, which made up more than 97% of its $164.5 billion in revenue in 2024. Even if Marketplace itself isn't a cash cow, it keeps people on Facebook longer, giving Meta more opportunities to serve ads and collect valuable data. According to eMarketer, the average 18 to 24-year-old spends only 11 minutes per day on the platform, compared to an hour on TikTok. But many of them still log in regularly, specifically for Marketplace.
Marketplace gives Meta a way to say young people are on Facebook, but logging onto Facebook to browse, buy, or sell secondhand items is a very different behavior than spending time scrolling the feed like they might do on other platforms.
This is valuable because advertisers follow engagement. When people log into Marketplace, Meta collects valuable data: what users are searching for, what they're buying, and even their location preferences. This information helps optimize ad targeting across all of Meta's platforms, from Facebook to Instagram. Unlike eBay or Etsy, Meta doesn't take a cut of most transactions.
The financial benefit for Facebook from Marketplace is largely indirect, meaning that Marketplace helps to bring in users and engagement, which is what advertisers are looking for when they're deciding where to allocate their budgets. Meta hasn't really provided any more specifics in terms of how it intends to further monetize Marketplace, but I imagine that a lot of it is going to continue to be about indirect rather than direct revenue, and more broadly about how it can convert Marketplace users into more traditional Facebook users.
This is why Marketplace plays such a long-term role in Meta's e-commerce strategy. While Instagram is now responsible for about 50% of Meta's US ad revenue, Facebook still needs a way to retain users, especially younger ones.
I just think the concept of Facebook is a bit outdated at this point in terms of a social media platform. There's definitely opportunities too. For example, if they shut down Instagram one day, I'm sure everyone will be going back, because I think the value of Facebook is people have had it for so long. They've accumulated a lot of connections over time. So it's so valuable to see when people's birthdays are, for example. I don't think anyone will delete it anytime soon, but I don't know if people will be going on it super frequently either.
Bridgewater Associates founder Ray Dalio posting on LinkedIn and weighing in on tariffs. He says it's more important to focus on the idea that, quote, we're seeing a classic breakdown of the major monetary, political, and geopolitical orders. This sort of breakdown occurs only about once in a lifetime, but they have happened many times in history when similar unsustainable conditions were in place. Joining us right now, first on CNBC, is Bridgewater founder Ray Dalio, and we're thrilled to have you here on a morning when we're still trying to make sense of what all these tariffs mean, Ray, and frankly, how all of this plays out. So to the extent that you can help us with the history, or at least a history lesson, if you think there are parallels, how does this play out?
Good to see you, Joe. Andrew, Joe, and Becky. I think that we don't understand how the cycle goes because it comes along about once a lifetime. But there are orders, there are systems, and the systems break down for certain reasons, and it creates cycles. For example, there's a monetary system, and then there's a debt cycle. And so as a result, we now have, one man's debts, another man's assets. And when you build these up and you get to a point where you can't sustain that, you have a debt issue. We have a debt issue. We can get into that. But there's a monetary cycle. There's a internal political order cycle that takes us from one political order to another political order, in which there's then classically great turbulence between the left and the right. And because of disorder, particularly in democracies, there's a lot of fighting because there needs to be cooperation, compromise, and so on. And we're in the process of changing that order. In addition, we have the international world order. International world order began in 1945. There's a war. You win a war. The dominant powers get to set the rules. That was a series of multilateralism, things like the United Nations, World Trade Organization, World this and World that. And that multilateralism is then breaking down for unilateralism for the same reasons. So there are these three orders related to too much debt. Debt is money. Second, internal order. How does our system work? Who's going to get control of this problem? And then number three, in addition of the five main forces, there's also throughout history, climate, acts of nature. Droughts, floods, and pandemics have killed more people and toppled more orders. And then there's also throughout history, man's inventiveness and new technologies, which is creating this transformative result.
Right.
The interactions of these is what's going on. So if we look at tariffs represent a dealing with the imbalances. The imbalance means we have a tremendous capital imbalance and a tremendous trade imbalance, which is unsustainable. And so that's the backdrop of this. Related to that is also the international conflict. How do you have dependency, mutual dependency? How can the United States be a safe country and not manufacture things and have to import them for China? Or how can China be safe in terms of having capital, an American capital? Those connections are breaking down. So that's the essence of the backdrop. When we get into the tariffs, I'm sure we'll get into it.
Well,
but that's
Ray, that's a great backdrop to understand the way you're thinking about it contextually. But let's go straight to the tariffs, which is to say, how do you think, therefore, they play out? Is there, given the history that you talk about, is there the political appeal, either here in the U.S. or elsewhere, for these tariffs ultimately? And from an economic perspective, as we're all watching the market today, it's gotten a little bit better. But obviously, folks have lost 10%. Someone said to me last week, this is like a wealth tax, except that nobody gets the money. In that, 10% of a lot of folks' wealth vanished overnight as a function of at least this discussion thus far. So what happens?
Well, mechanistically, it raises costs. It lowers revenues for companies. I mean, what does it mean for a company? It means costs are going to go up. revenue is going to go down, and capital is going to be harder to come by. And so, and then we're trying to replace manufacturing. I mean, I agree with the problems, okay, about the fact that we don't manufacture and that there is a problem with that. But there's a structural problem of whether we can manufacture. We have a population that basically 3 million people, 1% of the population, is incredibly brilliant. I mean, they go to the best schools, they come out, they make the unicorns, inventiveness, half of which, by the way, are foreigners. And at the same time, they are making the unicorns. At the same time, what we have is 10% of the population around them that's doing very well. The 60% of the population has below a 6th grade reading level. And it's tough to be productive. So when we agree with the problem, too much debt, Secretary Bessent and others agree we should get it down to 3%. We have to get the budget deficits down to 3% of GDP. This is not, we all agree on the problem. The question is, what do we do about it? How do you create that self-sufficiency? And so from a practical point of view, that manufacturing is very difficult under this sort of circumstances to create within the United States, yet it's needed.
So therefore, you agree with the president? You disagree with the president? I'm trying to understand what the conclusion is here. If the president is watching you right now, if Scott Bessent is watching you right now, you're telling him what? This is a good idea? You're telling him abandon this idea? What are you saying?
I agree with the problem, okay? I am very concerned about the solution, okay? The practicality of the solution. In other words, I think that this is going to create not only the problem, the capital markets problem that I'm talking about related to prices going up, costs going up, prices, revenue going down, and capital problem. But I also think that this is going to create great sand in the gears of production worldwide. At the same time, I do agree that this interdependency, this issue of productivity in the world in which we have to be competitive and productive, and we're not competitive in producing things, is a longer-term problem, not an easy one. And I do expect that it is going to have political consequences. This is the nature of the cycle. It is coming also at the same time as we have a budget issue. Now, the budget issue is a comparably important issue. So as we look ahead in the months ahead, we have to get the budget deficit down to 3% of GDP. I worry about that at the same time as this is happening. These are not easy problems to solve, I'm concerned, because the bigger problems exist. The debt exists. You can't get around the debt. The overspending exists. You still have that. You still have that competitiveness issue. These have repeated throughout history. We're in a period that's very much like the 1930s.
Chinese officials are vowing to fight to the end in response to President Trump's latest tariff threat, raising the risk of a prolonged trade war between China and the U.S. Meantime, Japan is taking on a dramatically different approach. Japanese stocks rebounded on the news that the country will get priority in trade talks with the U.S. following a call between Japanese Prime Minister and President Trump. Joining us now to discuss what's next for trade and the markets, Jay Pulaski, TBW Advisor founder, and Anthony Saglambeni. He is Ameriprise Financial Chief Market Strategist. Thank you both for being with us this morning. Jay, I want to start with you because I've been intrigued talking with you about China and the broader Asia trade in the past couple of, it feels like, years here. Talk to me about how you view these negotiations with Japan and Japan getting kind of the first round at these negotiations. What does that tell you about an investment thesis when it comes to Japan?
Well, Japan is actually a market that we've been invested in and we think is appealing for a number of different reasons. And I think that the opportunity here is for capital to really repatriate out of the United States back into Japan, as well as other countries such as Europe, et cetera. And that should really be supportive for Japanese assets. There's an issue with a stronger yen being problematic for some of the exporters. But overall, I think the opportunity in Japan is that you have domestic capital reallocating from fixed income to equities as inflation picks up, deflation is defeated, and then you have the potential for money that's been invested in the United States to flow back to Japan. But to be honest, Madison, the market in Asia that we're really focused on is China. And I think the action today is really illustrative. Namely, Trump has threatened the double tariffs, as was discussed. China said, we're not going to cave, and the markets are up. And so to me, that's a sign that the markets are reading this as kind of the end of the beginning, and we're going to be in negotiation mode, which means things are going to get better, not worse. And I think that's why you see the market bouncing.
And so, Anthony, with this in mind, I mean, we're talking about 50% right now, but Trump campaigned with this 65% marker that a lot of analysts were taking into account. So it seems like there could be a ratcheting higher if the negotiations don't net out positively for what both sides are looking for here.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think investors were kind of stumped at the beginning of all of this with the focus on Canada and Mexico, and China seemed like they were getting off. And now we have really aggressive tariffs against China, which was the focus during the campaign. And so I agree with kind of the sentiment that's here. The focus is starting to turn to China much more aggressively. Negotiations are opening up possibly with some of our other trading partners. Markets were very oversold coming into Monday. You saw a little bit of capitulation trading on Friday and a little bit on Monday. It's obvious that the market wants some good news on trade. And so I think as we move through the coming days and coming weeks, it's really about what can we get out of the White House that's a little bit more positive than just aggressive tariff actions. Negotiations are a good starting point, and it's why you're starting to see stocks start to rebound a little bit this morning.
Negotiations may be a good starting point, but as you put it, Jay, negotiations could be just the end of the beginning here. So what does that tell us about how real this bounce is? Is this just a little bit of dip buying and then we're going to still end the week down in the red again?
Yeah, Madison, it's very binary, right? If we are in negotiation mode, and I think we are, right? I think Treasury Secretary Bessent is out there making it abundantly clear. We're open for negotiation. And that's to provide the president with a couple of wins so he's more comfortable moving off this tariff structure, and we can all relax a little bit, not have a recession, in which case stocks are probably quite attractive here, right? We look at the VIX volatility, and historically, when the VIX trades over 40, 45, 50, which is where it's been, 1 year out, returns are quite solid. And so it's really this idea of if China and U.S. fight and we get into a massive, Chinese devaluation, stocks go down dramatically, we have to price in a recession, we're going lower. Or we're not going to have that outcome. Things are going to negotiate, tariff rates are going to come down, recession is going to be averted, VIX is going to collapse, and you've got lots of upside. So that's really the binary nature. But to us, it's clear the White House has been scared by the market reaction. The market has bounded Trump, who heretofore has been unbounded, right? No one can move him off this issue. The market, I believe, have moved him off this issue.
Jay, super quick, because I want to bring Anthony back into the conversation, but do you think Trump cares about the stock market right now? He's continued to reiterate that he doesn't.
His donors do, his supporters do, and they're making it abundantly clear that this needs to be fixed. Musk, Ken Griffin, Larry Fink, Ken Lagone, I mean, the list goes on and on.
I want to allow you to comment on that, Anthony, with the additive of this, because it seems like the relief will come in the form of exemptions as well, as long as this negotiation goes forward as intended for a lot of those donors, as well as the major mega profiles that showed up representing, some of them, the Magnificent Seven on Inauguration Day.
Yeah, I agree with the concept. The companies are very concerned about the tariff environment over the next couple weeks and couple months. Markets were, like I said, very, very oversold, and it was a warning that when markets get this depressed, it generally precedes a recession. And so I think whether you're in the White House or whether you're a corporate executive, you're looking at the current environment and you're a little bit nervous. And so what we've been telling investors is that at some point, negotiations may lead to maybe less steep tariffs than the market has feared. Valuations have improved in the stock market. Diversification is working. Bonds are mitigating some of the risks in stocks. And so over time, if we can see better trade kind of commentary out of the White House, then I do think investors will maybe step back some of their more aggressive fears around recession and start to look at some of these really attractive valuations in Mag 7 and even some of the financials and industrial companies that have moved aggressively lower. There could be some opportunities for longer term investors. And just lastly, really quickly, the most volatile days come around these periods of uncertainty. And you generally see the best days in the market kind of coincide with the worst days in the market. So the best strategy for most investors is to stay the course and stay invested during this period of uncertainty.
And that's such a good reminder. 30 seconds left. What is your single best investment idea? What's your playbook?
Diversification. Bonds and cash are holding up. Alternative strategies are doing well. And I think you need to start looking at stocks in some of these areas in the U.S., like the Magnificent Seven, that if you have a longer term time horizon, you can invest in. Lastly, international investments add and round out that diversification.
And Jay, let me get that from you for 30 seconds before we wrap up. What's your single best investment idea, especially when you look global?
Yeah, we want to be overweight non-U.S. equity. We think that's the opportunity set. Better policy flexibility, fiscal and monetary in Europe and in Asia and China, for example. Cheaper markets, under-owned markets, better earnings growth. So the opportunity set here in the pullback, and we've been saying this for a month or more, we want to sell U.S. RIPs because we think the upside is capped. We want to buy non-U.S. dips. That's what we've had. We like China. We like emerging markets. We like Europe. We think the opportunity set there is much better than in the U.S. because we believe capital repatriation out of the U.S. back to Europe and Asia is a central theme that we're just beginning.
Anthony, Jay, thanks so much for the time this morning. 15 minutes until the market open. We'll leave the conversation there.